This is Heather Petrocelli interviewing Pamela Hayes on November 14th, 2016 in Portland, Oregon at Portland State University. Pamela, do I have your permission to record you for the Carole Pope Oral History Project?
Yes.
Would you please state your full name, date, and place of birth?
Pamela Hayes. My date of birth is 7/15/1966, and my place of birth is Portland, Oregon.
Ah, native. Could you please tell me how you first came to know Our New Beginnings or Carole Pope?
I first came to know Carole. I was court ordered to go to her program in 1984. Yeah. And I was not happy, but I was an outpatient, and through that, I had to go to group meetings 2 times a week, and they would help me get an apartment. They put us in a little,
Was it like
place,
like a safe
temporary
house?
place to live, yeah.
Our
like a safe
Our
house.
New Beginnings did?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, and then they were helping the outpatients get an apartment. So she did that, and we would go to group, and then we had Gray as a counselor there.
So, Gray Wolf.
Yeah.
So, just to back up, do you have memories of how the court order came down? Like, were you in court and they were like, we will be sending you to...
Yeah, they said, this is your alternative. We're going to send you to Our New Beginnings. And it was just like open right before that time. So
they presented it as an incarceration alternative. Yeah. And were you, when you were given the alternative, were you like, absolutely?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather not go to jail, so. Yeah, I was open to it. And I really liked the program. I loved the staff, Lori, Carole. Carole was great. She was just very sweet and warm-hearted. And she cared about everybody, all of us. We all are still friends to this day. Everyone, well, most of us that have made it through that are still friends to this day, and we keep in contact.
Do you have memories of how, so you get entangled with the law to wind up at a court, right? You get the choice of going to incarceration or going to Our New Beginnings. Do you know how they made the determination between inpatient and outpatient?
Inpatient was mostly for the people that had a drug problem or had kids. And that was what that was kept for, because it was a house. It was, not a big house. But so that was kept for mostly the kids, people with kids, or had a drug problem. I hadn't either yet, so.
And
we were.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was on outpatient and lasted for a while. I went to the program, really enjoyed it, learned a lot. We had group programs, group counseling every week, a couple times a week. And during that time, it was during the 80s, so there were several serial killers out at that time. And I didn't care. I was like fearless. But in the group, 1 week, 5 girls were there. In the next following week, 5 girls were killed. And that had a huge impact on me, on all of us, because it could have been us.
Was it one person that killed all 5? Were they individually, like?
They didn't know that at the time, but I believe it was, yeah.
Do you have memories of when that happened and it was devastating to, people working there, clients, everything? Were there any policy changes, or do you have any memories of anything that they tried to do to stop or educate or help the women?
No, I don't remember. I don't think they, I mean, of course they educated us, but it didn't, I don't know. And a lot of the times the house was such a comfortable house that the outpatient people would hang out there. And we knew the inpatient people from, from, the former life. And so we would just go to the house and hang out. And Lori was I don't know what her title was, but she worked there. She would hang out. She would take us. We would all hang out after her work. We were so involved with each other in order not to go back to the streets. However, that did not always work. In my case, I went back. But that was due to I had problems because I could not go home to my mom. She would not let me go back home. And, I had a roommate through the apartment they gave me, but, we had a little issue. And so I eventually got back into prostitution. And it's a problem because it's not a good thing to do, but you get addicted to the money.
Do you mind telling a little bit of your story before, like, how did you wind up at that court where you got a court mandate to either go to jail or go to Our New Beginnings?
When I was 15, I was sexually abused a couple times. When I was younger, I never told my mom because she would tell me from when I was younger that she didn't want me around. She wished she didn't have me and all that every day. And then I was sexually abused a couple times and I didn't have a dad around, and I never told her I was abused. And she raised me in a church, but she was like very distant in my family. My brothers and sisters were all a lot older than me, and they were very distant. And so it was like I was by myself. And when any of us were graduated from high school, we were kicked out. It didn't matter. We had to leave the house. I had moved in with my sister at 15 because I couldn't live with my mom. And I just started hanging out downtown. I moved around to different friends' house, just to survive. And then I met these pimps downtown and, went from there. And I was curious, and basically survival. Somebody showed interest in me, and, I wanted to do something that was different, not that it was fun, but... And then eventually I had been throughout different things, to different states, and I eventually stopped in California. And at this time, I was by myself because the pimp I was with had several people, and I convinced him to let me go by myself to LA, and he did. But I had a plan. I was done with the whole thing, so I went to LA, and he came there looking for me and said, "What's going on?" I said, "I'm not doing this no more," and had to, fight against him for a minute. But I had met my ex-husband there and got pregnant and got married. But he was abusive. I stayed with him because I didn't want get divorced. And I didn't know what to look for in a man. So, nobody ever taught me, so I picked him. And stayed with him because I thought marriage was, you're supposed to stay together forever. And my mom had been divorced 5 times. I didn't want to repeat that. So, I just tried to stay, no matter what. I thought I can take the abuse, but I want my kids to have a dad, because that was another issue. I didn't have a dad. But of course that didn't work, because he would brainwash my kids against me from when they were little. And I still didn't see until they were a little bit older that it was terrible. I eventually filed for divorce, and when we did get divorced, the judge, nobody would help me. I could get no help, and he was a black man. That has a lot to do with it, because it was shocking to me. He had my daughter write a letter in court to the courts, lying, and the judge believed a letter. There was no investigation, even though I requested one. And I had gone down to the courts a few times and said, "You're not investigating why," and gotten kicked out. And they had completely taken my kids and given them to the abuser. And I threw a fit, but nobody was there to help me. No, nobody. So I had to fight and fight and fight. Finally, my son left the house because it was too crazy, and came back to my house. And he got in trouble with the law. And so I was stuck in California with him, dealing with that. And, my daughter and me have had a hard relationship, because daughters and dads are closer. But he had left. He left the state, went to Virginia, and is on drugs. She still won't talk to me. So, I just came here for healing, moved back to Oregon to just reflect on my life and say, okay, this will not ever, ever, ever happen again to me in my life, where I go into these bad relationships. Why? Where does it start? I had to go reflect from when I was a child and figure out where it came from, where it started, and go through therapy. And I started going to school. And when I started going to school, I started going to school in the worst, in the midst of, I had a plan when I was leaving my husband. But I registered for school, I had gotten a job, and my plan was to make money and save up so I can leave. But the more I do, the better I am. I had to keep my mind distracted. So I signed up for legal, to be a paralegal. And I wanted to help people, because throughout my situation, my divorce, I was not getting help. And I noticed that the judges in the whole system they don't realize the effects domestic violence and sexual abuse, any kind of sexual abuse, has on women and children. And that was my mission, was to go to school to teach judges what effects that have on women and children, so they can rule differently in family courts, because I was shocked when that judge told me I couldn't see my kids, and I was like, wow. And finding out during my school process that I had moved here. This was in California where I started school. Then I moved to Portland. Started to go to PCC. They wouldn't let me finish my paralegal degree. I was very, very close, but they wouldn't take my credits. So I said, okay, Portland State will. So I just get a bachelor's degree. I'm not going to start over. So I got my criminal justice. I'm working on my criminal justice degree here. And I want to help. I want to do something. I've always wanted to do something like Carole did, is open up a home and help women that, have that work in sexual, I don't know what to call it, but
Yeah, no. For your degree, we had talked about it like before we started the interview. A lot of the women who had gone through our beginnings do social work, but you went criminal justice, and it's because of the, for lack of better terms, the ignorance from the bench.
yeah.
So, how far are you into your degree right now?
Oh, I have next term and I'm done.
And when you graduate, how do you implement that degree into actually affecting change in the world, that, like, for the judges?
Well, a couple terms ago, one of my professors had told me, go talk to the judges. So I did. And I didn't actually talk to a judge, I talked to their secretary. And I asked them, does Oregon have something where the judges go to, have somebody teaching them about domestic violence? And they said, yeah, they do. And they have to go to it every few months and get certified, recertified. I said, okay. My case happened in California, and I don't know. I don't know about Oregon's, how their cases are in family court, how they rule, but I would like to help somehow in the legal field. Like, even if I had a home, like Carole's, I've always wanted to do that, because I've dealt with domestic violence homes in California and here, because I've had problems. My son has issues, anger issues. I've had problems with him. And one home here told me, because it's not an intimate relationship, they couldn't help me. I said, how much more intimate do you want? This is my son that has the same anger issues. They couldn't do anything. I had to leave California at one point and come here because he was becoming abusive, and they didn't get that.
Has he gotten help since?
No, because I tried to get him help in California, and they wanted him to say he was a victim. I said, he's not going to say he was a victim because he doesn't know he was a victim. It's his normal. And the lady got mad at me. And that was the only way you could go in the program, is if you have to admit you're a victim. And we got into an argument over the phone, and they never called back. And it used to be a very good program in LA. But that's why I want to do my own program.
Do you want to do it here or in California?
I don't want to go back to California, probably here.
Just to piece together, just so I just can actually kind of make a mental picture of it. Basically you were assigned to Our New Beginnings in '84. Mm-hmm. When did you move to LA?
I moved to LA in '88.
So, tell me if I'm wrong. So, you had a rough childhood. You wound up on the streets. You, I'm assuming, get arrested, go before a
Yes.
judge.
A few times.
The judge tells you, you go into FaceTime or you go to Our New Beginnings. We're gonna dive in deeper into the Our New Beginnings time, but what you said was that you did get some help, but you still wound up back on the streets after Our New Beginnings.
Yeah.
Did you go back to Our New Beginnings? Like, did you only have one time there? Or did you go there?
I went back there for a short time, but after the last time, I just left for California.
That's
and
when you
stayed
left.
There.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you? So then you were married. What year did you get married?
In 90.
And then when did you get divorced?
2006.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
And then when did you move back here for the schooling?
I moved back here 2011. No, 12. Yeah.
Now you're a term away from graduating.
Yes.
Exciting. Congratulations.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you.
So going back to Our New Beginnings things, we'll ask a bunch of questions about that, but one overall question I have is that part of it clearly worked for you and part of it clearly didn't work for you. Could you talk a bit about what worked and what didn't work?
Yes.
What I mean is, like, in the sense that it got you off the streets because they mandated it, but then you wound up back on the streets, so clearly there weren't enough resources or something.
It wasn't that there was enough resources. It was, I was going to school. I was enrolled in school even. It was that I wasn't done. It was me. It wasn't, the program was great. They would help you with anything. Anything. And they did. But I was not done. And that's the bottom line. I was just not done. It's a hard lifestyle to leave, even though that sounds crazy. But you get addicted to the money, and some women fall in love with the men, the pimps, and that's, they want it that way. But yeah, it's hard, even though it seems easy. It's like a form of addiction. But yeah, and the program, Our New Beginnings, was excellent. What I liked about it the most is that Carole used people who had been through things in life. Not necessarily they had a degree, but they had experience. And they understood. And that's what I liked. And also, when I was out there, there was one policeman, Harry Jackson, who he was the best, because he would sit there and talk to you. He would take you on rides and say, look, this is where you're going to end up dead, and take you down these alleys and take you on these little drives and show you where they take prostitutes and kill them. And he did that with me. And then he came back. I remember we were in the parking lot of Denny's, and he said, if I call your mom, will she let you come home? And I said, you can try, but no, she won't. And he said, well, I'm going to try. It's okay. He did, and no, she did not. And that really, really hurt me, because I was like, Mom, this is a policeman. I'm not going to lie to him. This man really, really cares. And he did. He was one man who cared. And he told me also about Carole's program.
But they tell you before it became a court mandated?
Yeah.
So you knew about it while you were on the streets, there was a police officer discussing it?
Yeah.
And was he discussing it as, like, kind of please consider checking yourself in?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
what did you think when you heard him talk about that?
I thought it was an option.
This might be a strange question, but was Our New Beginnings a known place in the community, I mean, is that the wrong way of saying it? Like, but the community people who are working on the streets, it's like, was it a no?
Yeah. Yeah, because it just had opened and everybody was there. I mean, you knew everybody from being out on the streets. So it's like either they came in and left or came in and stayed, or stayed for a while and then left or graduated. Yes, it was very well known. It was very well respected program.
Did you ever see Carole? Did she ever do
Oh,
outreach at
yeah,
you?
all the time. She was there every day.
On like, I meant like outreach to the prostitutes on the streets. Did she actually come out? Did you ever see her before you went into Our New Beginnings?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you ever hear of her doing? Did you ever hear anything about that?
No,
Just
I
curious.
did not.
So going back to Our New Beginnings, so you were outpatient. Do you have a memory of your first, like, walking in there for the first time?
Yes, it was awkward. Because it was. I mean, I did it because I had to. Yeah. But then I walked in there and I was like, oh, I know you. I know Lori, and a lot of people. It was funny. But, so you were quickly at ease. But it was very helpful. And then, when you look back, when you get older, you look back and you're like, she had the best. There's nothing, I've never seen anything like that anywhere. And I don't understand why it ever shut down, because it never should have.
Did news reach you? You would have been in LA by then. Did news reach you that it had shut down?
Yeah. Yeah, I still keep in contact with a lot of
The people, yeah.
from there.
Can you had said that when you entered, was Lori a patient at Our New Beginnings, or was she working at Our New Beginnings?
She was working there.
Was she specializing with the prostitution, was it like a recovery group, or?
No,
No.
not yet. She did do that later, but she was, I don't remember her title, but I remember her sitting at this desk right by the door. But Mary Dean was, I think she was more of the specialist.
Mary Dean was someone working there?
Yeah.
And then you had mentioned that Gray Wolf was your counselor.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about Gray and what she means or meant to you?
Oh, Gray was great. Gray would sit in on all our group councils, our weekly meetings, and she would also do private council times with us. And she was the best. She was excellent. She would help us get down to why we were in that place at that time. If you wanted to. I mean, you have to be the one to want to change. I wasn't ready for that.
But would you say, or maybe how would you say that some of the things you learned from Gray and Carole and Lori and other people who were running Our New Beginnings, like, maybe in that moment in time you were going to want it back on the street because you weren't ready yet, but did you carry some of those tools that you learned throughout?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Because in my situation, I mean, I just was in survival mode. Because I didn't know what to do when I got into an argument with my roommate. I didn't know what to do. I don't like to ask people for help for anything. So I just did what I knew best and went into survival mode. Said, okay, well, I'll just go back and make some money. And, instead of, I had a job and was going to school and everything and just left. And one point, Lori, I had went to Eugene with Lori when she was going to University of Oregon. tried to stay with her. I just was, I don't know. I didn't have it out of my system yet.
Yeah. So, for our new beginnings, you had said that you were given the alternative to go there. You were outpatient, but you had a roommate. And there was was it an entire apartment building that was dedicated, or was it just around town?
It was around town. I don't know how they worked it, but they got us an apartment after we stayed in the shelter for, a couple nights, and then our apartment came through, and we had to share it. But yeah.
From your experience, was that something they did for all the outpatient?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
If they didn't have anywhere to live. Yeah.
Okay. Easy question. How long were you an outpatient at Our New Beginnings? Maybe not an easy question.
A year.
Year, okay. And what did a typical, I know that there's probably evolution in the program to get you from a point A to a point B, but what did a typical week look like as an outpatient person at Our New Beginnings?
Just go, well, Carole had a plan where you had to have a job or going to school. You had to be doing something productive and report that. And if you weren't, then you were going to have a problem because Carole didn't play. And, I kept all that going, but, didn't work.
Did Our New Beginnings help you get the job and or help you enroll in school?
Yes, they help with everything.
So did you feel supported during that program as outpatient?
Yeah, and my roommate was part of a program participant too. So we were supportive of each other. We both signed up for school. We both went and got a job, and we both, were very supportive of each other.
Do you know, just, I mean, maybe you have no idea about this part, but did they look at people's backgrounds or former related, were you randomly assigned or did they try to match people?
They tried to match you. Yeah.
They do a good match?
Oh, yeah.
Do you still in communication with your roommate?
Yep.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
So you had to have a job and or go to school. It sounds like you chose to do both?
Yeah.
Where did you work?
I have worked, I think, at McDonald's.
And where were you taking classes?
Northwest Business College. It used to be downtown, but it's closed a long time ago.
Do you know if Carole had connections with that college to get people in, or did you just go of your own volition?
I know she had a lot of connections because she had a lot of resources that were helpful. So I'm sure she did. Yeah.
What are your memories of her as a human? Like specifically, like if you were explain her, use adjectives to describe her.
Wow. Very sensitive and caring and loving, but at the same time, I mean, she cared so much that, she'd give you the discipline. Like, she'd say, if you don't do this, this will happen. And that's the way life works, but that was good. But she was very loving. She'd be, kind of soft sometimes.
Kind of hard others?
Yeah.
Do you, I guess the question I'm actually really trying to ask about the outpatient versus inpatient was going through the program, did it feel like there was any, distinction? Like, was it treated differently, or was it did it just happen to be that the women that had children and had drug issues had a kind of closer eye on them, and the other women got to live in the apartments?
Yeah.
Or was it like, well, I'm outpatient, I don't have as much access to tools or structure in the program?
No. We had access. We would go out in the house and hang out. You know, as long as we wanted to. We were welcome to do that. And the girls at the house, the live-ins, we would go take their kids places. And, you know, it was like a family, you know, because you get that trauma bond through all of you going through something together, and we have that. And we all did things together, and we all, I don't think we felt any like, oh, you get more, you're around more. I don't think that was ever felt.
And Carole was involved in everybody's.
Oh, yeah. She was very closely involved.
So when it gets towards, I know that women graduated from the program. Did women also graduate out of the outpatient program too, the same as the inpatient program? You remember something?
Yeah, they did graduate out of the outpatient.
Did you make it through graduation for?
No, I
Maybe
left before that.
Did Carole or anyone from Our New Beginnings ever do any outreach to you after you left?
No, because I mean they tried, but I was gone, and they knew where I was. Because, like I said, we all knew each other, and there was somebody I contacted, but it was on the wrong side of help. So, yeah, they knew where I was. They knew I had went back, and I knew they were always there. I knew Our New Beginnings was always going to be there if I needed to go back. But, you know, I met my ex-husband, got pregnant, got stuck there.
Yeah. Maybe this wasn't something you'd have access to while you're, you know, going through your time there, but did you ever have any idea about how, like the funding and how Our New Beginnings sustained itself, and that sort of like how it, you had mentioned that Carole was clearly very connected.
Yeah.
But did you ever see any of it, how it ran? Like, was that visible to the women who were part of it, or was it?
Yeah, it was very visible. Yeah, she had grants, and there was community agencies that would help her and stuff. So she had a lot of help. A lot.
Did you ever see that police officer again? The one.
Oh, yes. He's retired now from Portland Police, but I haven't seen him recently, but I would like to.
Still around in Portland?
Yeah. I don't know where he doesn't work as a Portland police officer, but I would like to see him. Tell him thank you, because he made a big impact in my life. He's somebody I'll never forget.
For Our New Beginnings, and well, I have a physical space. If you close your eyes, do you can you see Our New Beginnings in the building in your head, and could you describe a little bit of what you saw?
Purple. A Victorian house, and inside it was all purple, because that was Carole's favorite color. Yeah, and it was cute little homey home, and had all the rooms upstairs for the in-house patients, and then we had our big Carol's office was in the downstairs in the bottom, and Lori's and Mary's were in the front, and then we had a big group room. I think it was in the basement where we had our group room. It was nice, and a little place for the kids to play.
A lot of little kids there.
Yeah.
Did you go to? I know I've heard from more than one person that some of the parties were rather infamous. Carole liked throwing parties. Did you go to some of those parties?
Uh-huh.
Good times?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's very fun.
For the apartment that they helped you get, what area was it in?
Northwest. It was near where Carole's place was. It was on 19th and Irving.
Your apartment was?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember where Our New Beginnings was?
It was very close to there.
Yeah, I know it's somewhere.
In the
yeah,
Northwest. Yeah, very close to there. In the 20s, some 23rd. I don't remember.
I should have it memorized by now. I know it's over there. Have you been back? Have you driven by the building since you
No.
got back? Still there? Yeah, not purple anymore.
I know.
So, what memories about Our New Beginnings, or Carole, are strongest for you today in 2016?
The fact that she cared, and the fact that she used people that had experience and understood, and we knew that. You know, we could look at them and say, "Oh, you've been through this, so you get it," and not like, "Oh, I just have a degree." Not that that's a bad thing, but you know, if you have no experience and understanding, you can have a total disconnect with helping somebody. And that's what stood out the most. And people would look at Carole and sometimes think she's mean, because she does have a gruff exterior. But she wasn't. She was like a big old teddy bear. She was really sweet. She really had a loving heart. And they just didn't get to know her. And she had to prove herself, too. Because Carole came out of prison with this idea.
Yeah, was she open about her past to women?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She wanted us to know. Yeah.
So you're doing criminal justice here. Do you... Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like, do you consider her a mentor in your...
Definitely. Definitely. Her and Lori. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I've always wanted to do what Carole did, especially the older I've gotten, because I've seen different programs. I've even went through advocacy for domestic violence for a program here in Portland, and didn't like it because, you know, I was spoiled. Carole had a good program.
So you have the privilege of having seen a program that existed for easy math in like the 80s.
Yeah.
And you're now trying to trying to create something like that in the, 2016, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that we could so I know that I'm saying this from a place where I don't know a lot about how policy and criminal justice works behind the scenes, right? That's not my world. Do you think a place like Our New Beginnings could exist today?
Yes. It needs to exist. Because jail is not the answer. That's not going to help nobody. And the criminal justice system does not treat people right. Especially in that world, in the sexual workers world, they just treat them bad, and jail is not the place for them to do anything. All they're going to do is go in there and learn more and go back. And they need somewhere to learn different alternatives. Like Carole taught us, you go to school, you can get a job. Yeah, it's not making the money you had, but, it's building your life. And it's making a change. And you can help others make that change. And that's what I want to do, is present people, especially now, because it's so different. I mean, back then it was on the streets, now it's on the internet. And it's just totally different. But along with that goes domestic violence. They go hand in hand, and sexual abuse, and I think they just need knowledge. And yeah, I think they do need a program like that.
What do you what do you mean by it's no longer a street, it's on the internet? Can you just tell me a little bit more about that?
I mean, prostitution is on the internet. More so than, I mean, back in the 80s, it was, you walked the streets. Now it's on the internet, where you have, I don't know, I don't even know how it works, but there's a page, I don't know, set up meetings.
So I have more of a place-based question, in the sense of, you grew up in Portland, you lived here through 88-ish, then you were gone for a while and you come back. How does Portland seem, what are your impressions of Portland then and now?
Totally different. They've totally remodeled the whole city, and it was weird coming back because of that, because I remembered my Portland and I wanted that back, but it's new and different, and they still have a lot of the same issues, but it's stuff they need to get into. The criminal justice, I never got into that field because I knew I didn't want to, because I'm against the system. I don't like the system, but I want to be on the side of helping people.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, I wanted to get into your schooling. So you were going to do the paralegal. They wouldn't take your credits from LA, so you basically were like, well, I got to figure out how to not lose all that work I put in.
Yeah.
So did you choose criminal? So I understand you want to help, in that you had been on the one side and you've, with your son and your ex, and you've gone through all those things where the law often was not helpful.
Yeah.
So was criminal justice, how did you come to just choose criminal justice here at PSU?
Basically because there's no legal program. I really want to become a lawyer, but there's no paralegal, no kind of legal. There's a pre-law here, minor, but other than criminal justice is it, as far as legal, is a major. So that's how, it was between that and social work. But I chose this because it's closer to legal, and my focus back then was on legal, going to law school, but I don't think I'm going to do that.
Is that because, how would you characterize, since you're only a single term away from your degree, how would you characterize what you've encountered in the criminal justice program?
Wow.
I mean, I am really trying to ask you, was it disillusioning? Did it get you fired up to continue the work in a different way?
Well, okay. I lived in LA, like I said, so that was a good example of the criminal justice system because, as you know, they're not the best. But that taught me a lot, just living in LA and watching the LAPD and the sheriffs. And it taught me different perspectives of the criminal justice teachers here. and some don't have, like, I thought coming into it they would have like a pro-police perspective. They don't all have that. And that was fascinating to me because I came in and, like, I've seen some stuff just by living in LA. And you guys probably haven't seen that as bad here. But I still want to learn, and see what they say. But it was a good program.
Yeah. Why, you had said that just a moment ago, you had said that at one point being a lawyer was a goal, but then you just kind of like laughed and said, not anymore. Was it, why? What happened?
Oh, it's just the money and the time to go to law school. I love the law. It's fascinating to me. But, yeah, just the money and the time to go to law school. I don't want to. I'm torn right now because I am getting ready to graduate. I'm torn on, do I want to get my master's or do I just want to work? I'm kind of going through that. But I don't think, if I were to pursue anything, it would probably be legal. But that's the most expensive. And a lot of hard work. And I have a disability. So that kind of, it's been hard on me the last couple terms. So I think I'm going to, I don't know, because I really, every time I pick up take a legal class, I'm like, oh, I love this class. But I don't know.
If you had your magic wand and you could open up your 2016 version of Our New Beginnings, what would be your priorities as far as programs?
I would make it for sex workers, and I would implement domestic violence, and I would have people that have been through that already. I already know people who would work for me. And I would definitely have a counselor, probably a trauma therapist. That would probably be the most professional person I would have that has been to school. Yeah, and drug therapist, And I just want to show them that they have other options. And it's dangerous. It's scary. The world is crazy enough. I couldn't imagine now doing anything like that. Back then, it was a lot different. And I was fearless, but not now. And now it's a lot different too because it's a immigration thing. They take the kids and, use them for sex trades. That, they need help, So I would open up a portion of my house for people that come over the border if they're still allowed to. And help them because that's just terrible to me. How all these kids, little kids, they don't know what they're doing. They're so innocent. And it just breaks my heart.
With the knowledge that you have, do you ever feel surprised that people who are living, as we discussed, like Portland has changed a lot since the 80s to now. Do you ever have a feeling of surprise that people don't realize what's going on under their noses in a sense?
Definitely. Yeah.
How would you propose for more outreach for people to get what's going on in the, it's like, I don't want to say sex slaves, but like the immigration, however you just said that, but
Well, that I would go, I don't know, to the borders to do that. Like go all across the borders. I don't know, that's kind of different. I've taken a few classes on it and read some interesting books to kind of keep myself updated on that because it's changed so much. And I would go work with other programs. There's an excellent program in New York with, I can't remember the name of it, but this lady, I know she wrote a book. It's called Girls Like Us. And she's done a lot of work through Congress to change laws for it. So I would want to work with her and do the same thing as she's done, but here. And, you know, just make it so they can get help. And, you know, I don't know. I'd have to do some further research. But it's just terrible what's going on. And people don't have any clue. Not a clue at all. And it's so sad.
with your like love of law, the degree you have, in the past that you have, have you ever considered doing legislative work in Oregon to change laws or?
Yeah. Oh, I would love to. When I first got here, I have an old thing on my record from 1987, and in, oh gosh, I don't even remember what year. My ex-husband sent me to jail in, I don't remember what year, but it was 2000 something. That was for spousal abuse. Okay, it's been expunged in California, but it won't fully be expunged until 2017. So therefore, Oregon will not expunge my thing from 1987. From 1987. And that was a felony. So I was like, I went to the DA's office because I did file for expunsion. After I asked him first, I said, let's please just tell me, is there anything that will stop this? And they said no. I told them, you know, about my prior thing, and they said no. Paid for it, everything. They didn't expunge it because of that. I went up there and said, you don't want anybody to do anything. You don't want anybody. I'm trying to go to school, further my life, and you guys want to keep people held down. Why can't you just take that off my record? The thing in California is expunged. And you're still holding on to this. This is going to hold me up from going into the field I want. And they said, what do you want to do, change the law? I said, yes, I do. So, yeah. However, that works. Yeah, because I think it's ridiculous. And I think it's ridiculous. I got fired from a job because of that.
Because somehow they found the record from 30 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I didn't know they could go back as far as they want to here. And I didn't even know that was on my record. That's how I found out about it. And the job I have, which is right over here at Green Line Market, a company bought them out. And so we had to go through reapplication and re-background checks. I didn't put that on my background thing because I thought it has been expunged, because I had written a letter years ago to my judge and asked her to expunge it. And they said, no, you lied on your application. You didn't put the charge. I said, I didn't know there was a charge. So I went down to the courthouse, looked for the letter in my file. Wasn't there. They said that, and the judge had retired. They said the only place it could have been in her personal file, and there's no way I can get to it. And that's when I started school, because started to finish it, yeah. Because I was like, that makes no sense. That you can hold on to something from 1987 when everything, well, there was only that one thing is expunged. And that should never went on my record anyway. That was backwards, but, you know, I could have sued LAPD for that, but.
So just so there's like a silver lining for me, so it will go away in 2017 though? In Oregon too?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to call my lawyer in LA in January and say, what month will this be officially off my record? And then when they tell me, I'm going down to expunge it.
This might be a novice question, but is it, how much of a financial burden is it to try to do something like that? Or are there enough?
Oh, that's the big financial burden, because it costs like $200 to expunge it. And more, because there's two different fees. One fee you can get waived if your income is low enough. The other fee you have to pay. But the fee I had to pay was $200 and something. The other fee I got waived. But I don't have that just to throw away. That's why I asked him in front first. Is there anything that will stop me from getting this expunged? And I was mad.
Only a couple more questions. What do you think is important for the Portland community to know or understand about Our New Beginnings or Carole Pope?
Well, Our New Beginnings would have never been here without Carole Pope, and it's helped so many people. I mean, you know, we still keep in contact today, and she just had a great impact on people, and you know, she taught us to help others and not to, you know, she was just like a mom and really cared for us. And everyone on her staff cared for us. And that's how she put that program together, and it was something I'll never forget, and something I've looked at different programs throughout my life. There's nothing like it. Nothing.
Is there any essence of what it, like, you already said that something like that could exist again, so you don't need to have Carole to make, like, Our New Beginnings exist. What is it that so many programs are getting wrong? Like, what's the nugget that they're getting wrong that Our New Beginnings got so right, in your opinion?
I think they're using a degree. A degree is good, but you need people that know what it's like, who have been there. And that's what people connect to, who, if you don't understand what I'm telling you and what, you know, I'm going through, I'm going to have a hard time talking to you. If you just say, oh, this is out of a book, from my understanding, I can't talk to you, because if you don't know, if you haven't been there, that's hard to relate. You can't have empathy. If you've been there, you have empathy. If you just read a book, people are more cold and distant, and they judge you more.
That's the thing you've noted. You've noted that for a lot of the other programs, they're going for degrees and, you know, initials, acronyms after names, as opposed to Carole, who took someone like Lori, who went from being a patient to being a provider.
Right.
In some of your darker days in LA when you were married to the abusive man, did you ever think of Carole?
Oh yeah, always.
Did you ever consider reaching out?
Yeah, I did reach out to Lori. Actually, when my daughter was a year old, I came home and stayed with Lori because I was going to leave, but then I came back. I stayed with her for about a month. And she helped me a lot. We were in the process of doing stuff, but then I made the mistake and called him. And that was it. I had signed up for welfare, I mean everything, but I made the mistake and called him. And then I went back and never came back. But yeah, oh yeah, Carole always made sure we knew, you guys need anything at any time in your life, call. We always had access.
Did you hear when she died?
Yeah. I was here. I was here when she died. Yeah, that was sad. Just quickly for a time thing, when you came back for Lori, was Art in Beginnings already gone? When you came back to No.
Lori, it was still going?
It was when did it end? Because when
91?
Yeah, it was still going.
Still going?
Yeah.
Because you said you have friends and have connections still from that time.
Mm-hmm.
When Our New Beginnings closed, you said you had heard about it. Did you hear any ramifications of what it felt for people in your extended community?
No, because at that time I was in California and kind of involved in my own world, and I didn't really keep into contact with these people until I came back. I mean, I did, but not really until much later. I would come back. Like when I left, I came to Lori's house in 90 for a month. And then when I left her house, I didn't get into contact till we got Facebook. Pretty much. Then I started looking up everybody and yeah.
No, that's true. I mean, social media totally changes that kind of
Yeah.
landscape of communication
Sure
and
does.
staying in touch.
Yeah, and now I see them all the time. A lot of them. Some have died and some.
Did your relationship with your mother ever improve?
No. When I had my kids, I did call her and say I'm sorry for everything I've ever done. And I came and visited her a couple times, but my mother never really wanted me, and she made that quite clear. She had passed away in 99, and even then, I felt kind of guilty, for being bad. And so she found out she had cancer, and she told me over the phone when I was in California, and I said, well, I'm going to come and take care of you. She said no. And that just crushed me. I was like, I want to take care of you. But she didn't want me to. So I was like, well, you still haven't changed. So, I mean, I tried, but if your parents don't want you, they don't want you. So.
Do you have a good relationship with any of your siblings?
No. No. My brothers, they're much older. My oldest brother is 18, so he was pretty much gone when I was 2. And my next brother is 10 years older. He protected me when I was little. He's the only one. And my sister, we have strange, weird, where she hates me relationship. I always want, I don't know where I come from, because I want a close family. And I guess I'm just different than them, because they all go their separate ways and forget that we grew up together.
Family's difficult.
They won't accept my kids, or my sister won't. Everyone else will. She won't at all. She used to be a cop. I mean, I'm just saying, I've seen some bits of racism with her. and her husband.
It's a racist thing that she won't accept you.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're biracial.
I believe it is, because different comments she's made. That wasn't a problem with the rest of my family, though.
Here's a free question. Do you have any final questions or anything you want to say about Carole, Grey Wolf, Lori, Art in the Beginnings, your own story?
No. Well, yeah, I would. I'm thankful for Carole. Thankful for all of them. Because, really she put in me the passion to want to do the same thing. And, I'm thankful for her help, her having that idea. And realizing, no, jail doesn't help nobody. It's just an endless cycle, and it's silly. When there's treatment available, get that. That's what works. You have to go and figure out where it started. Not going to jail is an endless cycle. But, yeah, and, she kind of helped with my purpose in life. Figure it out. Because I always used to say, I want to be like Carole and do what Carole does. So, yeah, thankful. And throughout my life, I've compared everything to her program. And I've always said, if I could do that, I would do it different. Not, I do it like Carole. I've always, programmed it after her. Because I've seen their way doesn't work.
That was supposed to be the last question, but since you're friends with Lori, and I know Lori does a lot of work, will you two work together at one point to do something?
We might. I don't know. I haven't talked to her about that yet. Because she's very busy.
It's rather amazing.
Yeah. But I'm quite sure we will do something. If I were to do something like Carole, we would definitely work together, because I would use her program. She has a drug rehab program. So, we would definitely do that.
Yeah. Well, from my side of the table, it's like a level of poetic justice.
I know. Yeah. That would be funny.
Well, if you have nothing else, I thank you so much for taking the time to tell your story.
Yeah. It's actually the first time I ever have.
Well,
besides the paper I wrote. But, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.